Vegas isn't merely fading away, it's hemorrhaging, and the gash? Entirely self-made. While the famed Strip busies itself tallying resort fees and those outrageous $50 parking charges, America's passionate gamblers stumbled upon a concept Vegas seemed to have completely forgotten: genuine value. Now, places like Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma aren't simply vying for attention against Vegas. They're absolutely dominating. Come with me, and I'll lay bare how the once unshakable gambling empire of America managed to lose a war it wasn't even aware had begun. We'll dive into which casinos soared while Vegas was still stumbling, trying to find its balance. Florida, my friends, truly found its stride. Just consider Magic City Casino in Miami, which in November of 2024 raked in an astounding $10.9 million from slot machines alone. Pompano Park wasn't far behind, snatching up $10.1 million. And Hialeah Park, Calder Casino, and Casino Miami, each of them was pushing impressive figures, somewhere between 7 and 9 million. In total, 8 non-tribal casinos across Florida collectively generated a staggering $56.5 million in just one solitary month. That's a solid 3.4% jump from the previous year. You see, while Vegas was slowly bleeding out, Florida was absolutely thriving. And get this, the Seminole Tribe's massive Hard Rock properties aren't even factored into those incredible numbers. Factor them in, and Florida's gambling revenue suddenly transforms from what might seem like a mere regional market into something far more menacing. A formidable, undeniable threat. The Sunshine State, mind you, imposed a hefty 35% tax on all slot machine earnings. But even after the state carved out its substantial share, these casinos were still swimming in profits. People were showing up in droves, placing their bets, and crucially, they kept on returning. Florida's gaming scene had been on an upward trajectory all year long. By May of 2024, it hit a remarkable $59.6 million. The summer months held strong, and by the time autumn breezes swept in, Florida's casinos had built an unstoppable momentum. They had cultivated a base of fiercely loyal customers. They had rediscovered something Vegas once possessed but carelessly discarded: sheer accessibility. So, do you truly want to understand the fundamental difference between what Vegas offers and what Florida provides? It all boils down to drive time, plain and simple. A Florida resident can zip over to a casino in just an hour, perhaps 2 at most. There's no need for a costly plane ticket, no overpriced hotel room with those sneaky hidden fees, and certainly no obligation to commit to a 3-day ordeal just to make the expense feel worthwhile. You simply drive over, try your luck on some slots, grab a bite to eat, and then head back home. That, my friends, isn't a grand vacation. That's just a regular Tuesday night. And ironically, Vegas itself once absolutely owned those casual Tuesday nights too. Its local casinos flourished because of it, but the colossal corporate giants dominating the Strip, well, they stopped caring about casual Tuesday nights decades ago. Their sights were set on bigger fish: the whales, the high rollers, the baccarat players who would casually drop 6 figures in a single evening. They certainly got what they wished for, but in doing so, they tragically lost absolutely everyone else. And that, my friends, is how Texas and Oklahoma then rose to become undeniable powerhouses. Tribal casinos spread across Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas collectively generated a staggering $7.2 billion in 2024. $7.2 billion! Just let that monumental figure sink in for a moment. That's a sum nearly equivalent to what the entire legendary Las Vegas Strip pulls in. Think about it. One single region, predominantly comprised of tribal properties, is pulling in Vegas-level money without needing any of that extravagant Vegas infrastructure. Oklahoma, by itself, boasts an incredible 137 tribal gaming facilities. The state's tribal gaming exclusivity fees alone reached a whopping $210 million in 2024. That precious money, mind you, wasn't just pocketed. It went directly into funding education, vital mental health services, and crucial infrastructure projects. Oklahoma, in essence, harnessed gambling revenue to construct and uplift its communities. Vegas, on the other hand, channeled its gambling revenue into inflating shareholder value. Consider the Chickasaw Nation, the Cherokee Nation, the Choctaw Nation. These weren't merely running casinos, they were skillfully managing vast, thriving empires. Take, for instance, WinStar World Casino in Thackerville, Oklahoma, strategically positioned right on the Texas border. It holds the title of the largest casino in the entire world world by gaming floor space, dwarfing anything you'd find in Vegas. And without fail, it's absolutely teeming with people every single weekend, every holiday, and during every major event. Texans make the easy drive up from Dallas and Houston. They indulge in some gambling, enjoy a meal, and then head back home. Let me reiterate a critical point. Texas strictly prohibits commercial casinos. It always has. But strategically place a tribal casino right on that Oklahoma border, and suddenly you've unlocked access to a staggering 30 million potential customers, all within a convenient driving distance. When it comes to pure geography, my friends, Vegas simply cannot compete. A Texan can experience WinStar for little more than the cost of a tank of gas. Meanwhile, a trip to Vegas? That's going to set you back $1,000 at least before you even lay eyes on the casino floor. The Oklahoma City region, notably, witnessed its gaming revenue surge by 12.7% in 2024. 12.7%! Let that sink in. While Vegas remains stuck in a stagnant rut, Oklahoma absolutely exploded with growth. And it wasn't just there. The Tulsa region, the Portland region, encompassing properties across Washington and Oregon, and even the Phoenix region, with its casinos in Arizona and New Mexico, all proudly reported significant growth. It seems every tribal region, every market, was relentlessly moving in one singular direction: upwards. Vegas executives, I imagine, likely glanced at these figures and simply shrugged them off. Regional casinos are hardly real competition, they probably scoffed. Who would ever choose Tulsa over the bright lights of Las Vegas? Nobody in their right mind would pick a tribal casino in Oklahoma when they could just hop on a plane to the iconic Strip. Except, my friends, millions upon millions of people did precisely that. And they continued to do it consistently because Vegas had simply ceased to be worth the monumental effort and expense of the trip. The resort fee scam. Now this is where Vegas truly veered off course, losing its way entirely. These resort fees are, without a doubt, the single most despised charge in the entire American hospitality industry. Station casinos first rolled them out back in 2004, ostensibly as a shrewd maneuver to sidestep those pesky online travel agency commissions. A rather clever accounting trick, wouldn't you say? Other casinos naturally took notice, and by 2013, even Caesars Entertainment, which had so proudly proclaimed itself a no-resort fee zone, shamefully caved and began slapping on those charges themselves. Alright, let's talk about today's reality: resort fees on the Strip. They're hitting you with a separate charge, from $35 to $75 a night plus tax on top of your room, for amenities that were once simply included: internet access, the fitness center, the pool, local calls, amenities every other hotel in America offers gratis. Suddenly, they were premium services. Your $100 room? It became a $165 room, just like that. And the kicker? Guests only learned this at check-in. The advertised rate meant nothing. The final bill showed the truth, and people got furious. Not merely annoyed, truly angry. That's the kind of angry that makes you book elsewhere next time. From 2019 to 2024, room rates climbed a staggering 46%, from $133 to $193. Then, of course, the resort fee. Then parking, once free, now costing $25 to $40 per day. And don't forget the $60 early check-in fee if you arrive before 3 p.m. Then the $26 bottle of water, the $48 pizza, the $15 draft beer. Every single touch point became a transaction. Every interaction now included a surcharge, bleeding you dry. Vegas stopped being fun. It became purely expensive. There's a massive difference, right? And what do Florida casinos charge for resort fees? Most of them? Absolutely nothing. Parking? Free. An early check-in penalty? Never heard of it. Oklahoma casinos, for instance, offer free parking and even complimentary drinks on the gaming floor. Buffets that don't cost $50. They aren't five-star resorts, and they don't pretend to be, but they are honest about the cost. Vegas, it seems, forgot most gamblers aren't millionaires. Most casino visitors are working class, middle class folks, simply looking for some fun and maybe a jackpot. They operate on a budget, you know? They have a limit. When Vegas effectively doubled its entry price, those people didn't suddenly find extra cash. They simply found other places to gamble, elsewhere. Enter the 80-20 rule. Anthony Lucas, a casino management professor at UNLV and former Las Vegas casino executive, explained it perfectly. 80% of casino revenue comes from about 20% of players: high rollers, VIPs, whales, people who think nothing of losing $10,000 in a weekend because they have $10,000 to lose. Vegas literally doubled down on those players. Think higher table minimums, exclusive high-limit rooms, invitation-only tournaments, baccarat tables that don't even bother listing the minimum bet, because if you have to ask, you simply cannot afford it. The Strip became a playground for the wealthy, leaving everyone else outside the velvet rope. This strategy worked, somewhat. Gaming revenue stayed strong despite fewer visitors. The whales kept whaling, yes, but here's the critical problem. You cannot build a city on just 20% of your customer base. You cannot fill 47,000 hotel rooms with just high rollers. You cannot keep 100,000 employees working when visitor volume drops 8% year after year. The Strip looks emptier because it is emptier. Hotel workers now report quieted hallways during what were once peak times. Casino floors that used to buzz with energy now merely echo, sadly. Restaurants are closing early, lacking customers. That energy, that electricity, the very essence that made Vegas feel like Vegas, it's simply fading away. You can't buy that back with whale money. But here's the thing. Downtown Las Vegas and the locals' casinos, they don't have this problem. They never chase the whales, remaining loyal to the locals, the regulars, the Tuesday night crowd. And get this, in 2024, downtown Vegas celebrated its 4th consecutive record-breaking year. Their revenue actually climbed by a healthy 2.4%. The Boulder Strip grew, Reno grew, and everywhere except for the Strip found a way to grow. Regional casinos do not have this problem either. They can't chase whales because those high rollers jet off to places like Macau or Monaco. Regional casinos instead serve their local communities. They price their services specifically for locals, surviving on sheer volume rather than massive margins. And right now, that volume strategy is decisively beating out high margins. We saw the exact same trend play out in Atlantic City. Jane Balkinowitz, who directs Stockton University's Lloyd D. Levinson Institute of Gaming, Hospitality, and Tourism, studied Atlantic City's situation. She found gaming revenue notably increased, disproportionately to visitor volume. Fewer visitors, yet more money. It's similar to Vegas in that regard, but Atlantic City primarily caters to regional drive-in customers. We're talking about folks from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware. They don't rely on international tourists or long cross-country flights. When international travel slowed, Atlantic City barely noticed, if at all. Even when gas prices spiked, their customers still drove 3 hours, choosing that over flying across the country. Regional markets hold geographic advantages that destination markets simply cannot match. And Vegas is now realizing that geographic advantages outweigh even a famous brand name. Case in point, New Jersey's gaming revenue grew by a solid 8%. Through August 2025, the industry surged 8% annually. Nevada, meanwhile, only grew 1.45%. Imagine this, the nation's biggest casino hub was utterly outpaced by its runner-up. It felt impossible, yet it occurred because Nevada, and especially Vegas, made itself too expensive, becoming irrelevant for countless Americans. The American Gaming Association revealed a stunning truth. 28 out of 38 commercial gaming areas shattered all-time revenue records in 2024. 28 of 38. The industry was absolutely booming, but Vegas? Not so much. Nationwide, commercial gaming revenue soared to $71.9 billion. Tribal gaming added $43.9 billion, pushing total gambling revenue past $100 billion. Vegas's share dwindled. Its dominance simply eroded. Markets they'd always dismissed suddenly began eating their lunch, competition no one had ever truly respected. For decades, Las Vegas held an absolute monopoly over the American gambling fantasy. If you craved an authentic casino thrill, Vegas was the only destination. Everything else felt like child's play. State lotteries, riverboat casinos, even tribal gaming. They were mere substitutes for those who couldn't visit. That old hierarchy? It utterly collapsed. Now, modern tribal casinos rival anything on the Strip. WinStar, Mohegan Sun, Foxwoods, Hard Rock Hollywood, Florida. These are no minor league operations. They boast better restaurants than half the Strip properties, better entertainment, unparalleled customer service, and they are significantly more affordable. California's tribal casinos alone raked in $12.1 billion in 2024. California, the very state Vegas relied on for its endless stream of drive-in visitors, the place where Interstate 15 once pulsed with weekend warriors bound for Nevada. But those those cars? They simply stopped. Why? Because California now boasts 87 tribal casinos. Why endure a 6-hour trek to Vegas when a 1-hour drive takes you to Pechanga, San Manuel, or Morongo? Meanwhile, the eastern and southeastern tribal regions, Florida, Connecticut, New York, North Carolina, collectively hauled in $10.2 billion. The Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas region, $7.2 billion. Combine it all, and tribal gaming revenue reached figures that would make even Caesars Entertainment green with envy. Las Vegas once dictated the trends. Now it merely observes other markets innovate, stubbornly clinging to a business model from 2004, demanding more, delivering less, and praying the brand name still works. But it doesn't, not anymore. Listen to what the analysts are whispering. Carlo Santarelli, an expert from Deutsche Bank, declared 2024 a year best forgotten for regional casino operators. But here's the crucial distinction. Regional operators, despite a tough year, still saw overall growth. Las Vegas? It suffered a bad year and shrank. There's a vast chasm between a temporary dip and a deep-seated structural issue. Santarelli pointed out a clear pattern. States introducing new casino options and fresh competition thrived. Those without new openings, however, experienced contraction. The message is clear. People crave new choices. They yearn for variety. They desire something fresh, not the same old, worn-out strip properties that have graced the landscape since the 90s. Jordan Bender, a gaming analyst with JMP Securities, issued a grim warning. Las Vegas Strip gaming revenue would probably plummet 3% in the first quarter of 2025. And he was absolutely right. February, March, April, every single one was down. May saw a further drop of 3.9%. June down, July down. The bleeding simply wouldn't stop. Chad Bayan, a senior analyst at Macquarie Capital, attempted to maintain a brave face. He claimed the mid to high-end clientele still held a positive view of Las Vegas. The core customers, he insisted, weren't retreating, but then conceded that some individuals were lightly softening their spending. The analyst's unspoken message? Folks are spending less, but we're absolutely not saying the market is in deep trouble. Meanwhile, Michael Lipton, the senior economic analyst for the Nevada Gaming Control Board, insisted that consumer desire for leisure travel remained robust. And that much is undeniably true. People are indeed traveling, they're just not choosing Las Vegas. Instead, they're flocking to Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, anywhere that doesn't demand $75 just to use the hotel gym. The visitation crisis. So, who exactly isn't showing up in Las Vegas anymore? Canadians, for one. The former president's remarks about Canada becoming the 51st state, coupled with bitter tariff disagreements, created a deep divide. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau even hinted that Canadians should direct their tourism dollars elsewhere. And they listened. Air passenger traffic from Canada to Las Vegas was projected to drop 18.5%, with Canadian visitor numbers declining amid political tensions. Mexican tourists, a crucial demographic for high-stakes gambling, also started to withdraw their presence. Hotel executives noted that high-roller clients from Mexico weren't eager to visit. A toxic mix of political rhetoric, immigration policies, and economic instability all played a part. The global clientele that Vegas had grown so reliant upon simply vanished, seeking out alternative havens. Yet, the true crisis festered much closer to home. Those hard-working, middle-class American tourists, the very lifeblood of Vegas for over 7 decades, had stopped arriving. It wasn't that they'd lost their appetite for a flutter, but rather the city had become financially out of reach. A weekend getaway that once cost a mere $1,000 now demanded a staggering $2,000 for the exact same experience. The same rooms, the same dazzling shows, and buffets that barely resembled their former glory. It was double the price, from $1,000 to $2,000 for an identical promise. Those middle-class patrons didn't simply give up gambling. Oh no, they merely shifted their dollars. They ventured to Florida. They drove across state lines to Oklahoma. They discovered the allure of Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun, or any of the dozens of brand new casinos that had sprung up in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, and New York. They sought out destinations that genuinely welcomed their business, rather than places that merely tolerated their presence while constantly chasing bigger, wealthier fish. Vegas had comfortably assumed an unbreakable bond of loyalty. They'd also banked heavily on the sheer power of their brand. Furthermore, they firmly believed people would always, without question, choose Vegas above all other options. They were profoundly mistaken. Loyalty, much like a fleeting whisper, vanishes when it isn't reciprocated.